All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the What Wine How Can I podcast. He said hello.
Hi.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like, whatever you got to do, share with the family, especially because we're out of this special place, the Chalet Event Center, a place where kind of like we've talked, new families are born, people start, this is their first day together for the rest of their lives. A special place to many people, and a place where I've spent a lot of weekends this year, hanging out with you pretty much. Watching you make this place, turn it into a wedding venue for one day, turn it into a corporate event center another day. So it's been pretty interesting to see. Bosue, right?
Bosue. I've always wanted to correct you, but I'm like, I'm gonna let you.
I'm gonna let you trip a little.
I'm gonna let you rock a little.
So
bit,
not Bosue, Bosue.
Bosue. Phonetically, it's Bosway. Bosue.
Yeah. Just spell it phonetically then.
Yeah, that's what I do to people, but
Okay, Bosue. Bosue is pretty much the owner here.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah. So.
Give us the story. Give us the rundown. What's going on?
So story is, you want the long story, short story?
Let's give us a long story, brother.
Story. So pretty much I'm like the operating manager, kind of so to speak, right? It's a family business, right? And my mom, she's the one, this is like her child, her baby, and I just took it over.
Okay.
Right? Because, we do our family business. We do a lot of, we do decorations, for like other venues, private estates, private parties, right? Okay. But the Chalet Event Center, this is like my baby now, right? So I'm here every day, 7 days a week for events, beginning, first one here, last one out, type of a deal, right? And I do the sales, I do the marketing, the janitor, cleaning up, so whatever it takes, right? Because I would like to consider myself like a small business owner, entrepreneur, and you put in the most hours, you care the most, and you just make it happen, right?
So I know you're a newlywed man.
Yeah.
What does your wife say? What does your
wife
say?
Come home more often.
Does she ever visit you out here?
Once in a while.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, once in a while. So my wife Danielle, right? She's in law enforcement.
Okay.
Right. So she works for the city of Sacramento. And, she puts in a lot of hours there, right? It's physically demanding, mentally demanding, right? Dealing with mainly kind of like the homeless population and the community, right?
So a lot of irritated people.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Nobody ever calls her with good news. Right. And so it's one of those kind of thankless jobs, right? That she kind of performs. And, she does that, for work, and we have a new dog, a new standard poodle called him Mando, right? From Mandalorian, right?
Okay.
We just finished watching this a Star Wars series, right? And so we're like, you know what? That's an awesome name for a dog.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so she's at home, taking care of the dog, training it, letting it out, and we have two other standard poodles. No, it's not standard. Like toy poodles, small ones, 15, 16 years old. And so she wants to spend enough time with them because, they're on the older end of.
So they're on their way out.
On their way, yeah. You said it, I didn't. Okay, babe.
Danielle, I'm sorry. Danielle, right?
Danielle.
On their way out, it's part of reality. I know you deal with harsh reality every day.
Oh, yeah.
So unfortunately.
Right. And so, she's at home and she works, and, she supports me by having food ready. Which is nice.
That was probably the best thing ever, is come home to a home cooked meal.
Oh, yeah.
Something fresh, something homey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wives are an awesome thing. If you ain't married, come to Chalet Event Center. We can make it happen here.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So what like, okay, your mom's decorating. Like we talked earlier, you're just a regular guy. You're not some guy, with baller parents, or hey, let's go build a venue, or let's go rent out a venue, lease a venue, and do this. Where did you get the guts to kind of come here, rent this place out, remodel what you can, put in a bunch of your own efforts and money into it, even though you don't own the facility, and then just continue grinding on that.
Do you know what's funny? So, and I remember like it was yesterday, man. Kind of like by the stairwell there after we kind of signed the lease and going into a new adventure. Yeah, it's scary. Oh, yes. Right. A new chapter is always scary, and this is a big kind of deal. Right? Yeah. And so we sat at the table, kind of by the stairwell, and I looked at my mom and I go, "Mom," I was like, "Do you believe in this place?" Yeah. And without hesitation, she goes, "Yes." I go, "Okay, if you believe it, I believe in it. Let's go. Let's make it happen," right? There was no plan B. All of our focus and efforts were like, okay, how do we transform this place into like the location for people to want to come and get married at? Yeah. Right. And, you know, thankfully, like we have a lot of family resources that we kind of tapped into to make it happen. Right. And so we got the keys, you know, early January 2019. Our first event was 2-3 weeks later, and we gutted the floors and put the 10,000 square feet worth of this hardwood flooring, right? And we called all of our family members to come and help.
All the cousins, all the cousins, party.
All the uncles, right? Everybody just laid down this floor. And on our first event, people were walking in and the glue was still wet. We said, "Don't walk in this area," right? But you know, it's just constant, like just dedication and more than anything, like a mental kind of toughness to kind of get through it, right? Because, you know, as any small business owner, entrepreneur knows, when it's good, it's good, but when it's bad, it's bad, right? And there's no bailing on it because it's all you, right? You can't just say, "Hey, I quit." You have to keep on going through it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
what were some of the things that maybe you've learned so far? Like, dang, I wish I would have known that when I signed the lease, or just like in managing this facility, like a couple items that you're like, okay, I learned this, and this.
Yeah. So great question.
Lessons learned, I guess.
Yeah. So lessons learned, you know, kind of getting into like any like agreement with like a landlord or anything like that. Just do your due diligence on everything, right? You know, it's like starting from like for us, it was like kind of like the kitchen, you know, the AC units, outside, inside. Okay, like what's your responsibility? What's the landlord's responsibility? Because if that's not kind of clear up front, it could get kind of hazy kind of during the lease. Like, wait, I thought you were going to cover it, or why am I paying this, right? When you should be doing it. Yeah. You know, kind of things like that. So that way there's no surprises, right? So everything should kind of be clear up front. And, you know, for us, it's like, okay, what's working, what's not, and let's figure it out, right? But you know, we came into a good deal in the beginning, and we, you know, it's making it happen, right? And, okay. So lessons learned for like a venue operating is, you know, kind of the biggest thing is like learn as you go. You know, because obviously not everybody's gonna know everything at one time, right? So it's always a constant education.
Don't be afraid of the problem. Be afraid not being able to solve the problem.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, and so I'm always problem solving all the time. Right. And when I come up against the same problem, I know the answer. Like, okay, I've seen this before. This is how you kind of go about that. Right. Whatever the case may be.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So you book your first, you sign the lease. 3 weeks later, sure, you have your first event. Yeah. In the back of your mind, I'm guessing you're like, where am I getting more people? Where am I getting Walk me through that fear factor a little bit.
Yeah, so like in any venue, you know, you book somebody now, but your event's not till next year, 6 months, 4 months down the line.
But you still got payments.
Right? So how do you kind of, one, attract people to come walk through the door? One, how do you manage between now and 6 months down the line? Right, because obviously no money's coming in unless it's like a corporate meeting or something like that. But you know, your first 6 to 8 months, virtually no money coming in. Right, a couple of deposits here and there, but nothing major. Because one, nobody knows you, right? Nobody knows what you offer, right? And so it's like, okay, let's start marketing this place. Let's get people in. Let's give a good deal up front, right? Just to kind of cover bills, maybe take a small loss. But we gotta get eyeballs in here So that way we know so that way it spreads throughout the community and people know that we're here, right? So pretty much I was looking at my first couple of deals. I'm like, damn, what was I thinking? You know? I was like,
you know exactly what you were doing. Desperate.
Like, man, I would never do this deal. What? Like, oh my God, right? Yeah. But that's how it is, and because like one, you want to get people in, start generating some revenue, and use that money to kind of keep on improving the venue, right? Obviously, when we first got it, it wasn't up to par, but I would tell people like, hey, by the time your wedding's gonna happen, we're gonna be doing this, we're gonna be doing that, right? So the biggest thing is having the vision of what the place is gonna be like, right? And that's what we've always had, right? And obviously, with that takes time. It takes a lot of resources. Is there setbacks? Yes, right. A lot of unexpected costs that pop up that kind of hampered us a little bit.
I mean, especially when you don't have like hey, I got 10 investors looking out to renovate my venue,
Yeah, and kind of like for us, one of the big ticket items was kind of like the city. They came down and they said, a lot of things aren't up to code. A lot of stuff was built without permits, right? So we got caught holding the bag of something that somebody did before we got there. Yeah. And we told them like, hey, well, this happened. This was already here when we got here. Yeah. They're like, sorry, unfortunately you gotta
deal with it.
You gotta deal with it, right? And so that was a kind of huge kind of a setback.
Wow.
Financially.
What did that make you feel like that? That's horrible. It's like you step into a trap, dude.
Yeah, and that's something that we had no idea. And the city found out.
Did you invite the city here?
No,
Too many eyeballs.
I don't know what it is, but they always find out. Eventually they find out. Yeah, and somebody probably calls and say like, hey, they're doing some renovations. There's always all it takes is one phone call.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they'll just keep coming.
Yeah, from a competitor, right? I've heard a situation where that happens. Just from a neighbor, maybe a guest that that doesn't like you or something like that, right? But all it takes is one phone call for the city and you're on the radar, right? Yeah. And which is good too, for us because we want to build a good relationship with the city, right? Right? Because we started doing some work without permits because we didn't know, right? Because like we're still learning about this. And fortunately, the permit fees was like double because we started doing it without the permission, right? And so one of the lessons learned is check with the city first, right? Yeah. When somebody told me if it doesn't plug in, check with the city, especially for commercial buildings.
If it doesn't plug in,
check with the city if you want to do a renovation.
Define that. If it doesn't.
So like if you want to do, or like if you want to change the bar. Somehow, some way, right? If you want to alter the size.
Oh, if it's not as easy as just plugging it in, make sure you don't need a permit.
Exactly, right? So like any alterations, especially with the commercial buildings, you want to make sure you kind of go through the necessary steps with the city as far as the permit process. Like even like right now, we have a couple sections in the front of like some bark area that I want to put artificial grass to make it more appealing, right? And I asked the city, I'm like, hey, do we need to have a permit for this? And they're like, well, not necessarily a permit, but you have to submit a kind of a drawing, CAD design, and then we have to submit it for approval because there's kind of like a landscape kind of agreement that they have to
want to go
by.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget exactly what it's called, but pretty much if you want to plant a specific tree, you have to check with them first, right? It has to be part of the overall plan that you already submitted. And so even small things like that.
That's
right?
Crazy.
Yeah, you have to kind of go through. And so after our first experience with the city, like, okay, I want to make sure because I don't want to pay double for a permit again, right? Something that should have cost $500-$600 and it costs us like $2,000.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. Well, that's definitely some lessons learned, and especially paying money will teach you a lesson.
Oh yeah,
I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, exactly. My grandma says, if you want to hurt somebody, if you want to teach them a lesson, hit their pocketbooks, right? And that's so true.
That is true. All right, let's talk about weddings. I mean, you've seen all sorts of different types of weddings in here.
Yeah.
And the first story I want to hear is, I know a lot of Slavic people have done their weddings here. And I'm sure the first time you had a Slavic wedding here, you had no idea what to expect.
Nothing.
Tell me that story, dude.
Yeah, so I remember the entire family, to be honest, you know. And so the mom, her name's Elena, of course, right? No. Yeah. So her mom's Elena, her name's Elena, and the family comes in. It's her daughter, right? And they come, they tour the place, and so I sit them down. And I go, okay, cool. And I'm thinking just regular weddings, right? What you see in the movies, what you see are like American style weddings. And so I sit them down in my makeshift office, and I go, okay, cool. So you're gonna have some drinks, or you're gonna need some bartenders. So I'm gonna give you a bartender. And she was like, no, we don't drink. I'm like, are you sure? She goes, yeah, we don't drink. I'm like, okay. You're gonna need a DJ. I know a bunch of DJs. She's like, no, we don't dance. I'm like, I look at her, I'm like, you don't drink, you don't dance. Are you sure it's a wedding? Like, what's going on? They're like, no. And the dad, he goes, no, we love to eat. We have our ceremony. We love to eat. Have our desserts, a bunch of desserts, and then we're out of here. Yeah, and like they're like, food's the most important thing.
It's the big lunch.
Yeah, big lunch,
or
big dinner. Yeah. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, man, you guys are pulling my leg, you know, because from what I know. You know, like I want to say they're Russian. I know they drink, right?
Yeah,
I know they,
there's plenty of Russians, Slavics that,
Yeah, and I was like, man, you guys are pulling my leg. They're like, no, watch. I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember too, she goes, yeah. And she was a mom that kind of talks, right, about the family business. And she goes, yeah, you know, we're getting married, or they're getting married fast. Because, you know, she got pregnant, and it's like, okay, I get that. It happens all the time, right? No big deal.
Yeah.
Right. But so that was my first experience with it, right? And so their wedding comes, I forget the date. And sure enough, right, ceremony, reception, desserts, done. I was like, wow, that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And it was different. And then I remember, I'll never forget, I was cleaning the bathrooms. And I see this little vodka bottle, right? And I was gonna text her. I'm like, "Hey, I thought you said it was a dry wedding."
You lied.
I was like, "You lied to me."
You needed a bartender.
Yeah, but
that's hilarious,
dude. So that was my first kind of experience, right? And at first, I thought like, okay, this is just this family, right? And no, sure enough, they had the drinks like on the tables, and that ice buckets. And for me, I knew it was like every wedding that I do, I'm gonna learn something, right? And I'm gonna ask, okay, are you gonna do this like this family did it, or you can do it, the other way? And so, like every wedding, I still learn one particular thing, right? Because that's kind of part of the growth process, and that's how I typically relate to the clients who walk through the doors, and I'm giving them tours. And so now, when people call me, they're like, hey, is this day open for a wedding? And I typically say, okay, ceremony and reception. They're like, okay, both. I'm like, okay, so alcohol, no alcohol. They're like, no alcohol. Okay, dancing, no dancing. If they say no dancing, I go, okay, so is this like Russian, Ukrainian, Slavic wedding, Christian? They're like, yes, how'd you know? Yeah. I was like, I know, right? Just those two questions filter it out, right?
Exactly.
And I know just on the phone. And sometimes my last one, she's like, yeah, there's gonna be like a little bit of dancing. I'm like a first dance type of deal. And she goes, yeah. Like, okay, cool. I know exactly what type of wedding it is, right? And because when we allow outside catering, right, that's huge in the community, right? And so
everybody wants to bring their own food.
Yeah.
And that's what many venues don't offer actually, is if you come to the venue, you got to get the food from them. They have to serve you with everything. And especially in the Slavic community, and I know you have a lot of Indian weddings here, stuff too. They appreciate like a venue that can like, we give you the roof, you bring everything else in here, and that's what they want. They want their own house,
Yeah.
So a lot of people appreciate that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I appreciate their food too. That food's good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What's the most popular caterer that you get most often?
For in the Slavic community? So there's two main ones, right? Elena's Kitchen. She lives here, right? And then Citrus Town Plaza, they come very often. Occasionally I'll get this. I always say the guy named Ivan, right? Because I don't know what his catering company's name, but it's this guy named Ivan, right? And then one of my clients, just last week, she was like, "Hey, my caterer Ivan, wants to cook on site and things like that." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that guy." Right.
Yeah, I know Ivan.
Yeah. And then, we get some other kind of like one-offs here and there. But typically the gold standard is always like Elena's Kitchen and, Citrus Sound Plaza. Those are, the top two.
Okay.
They kind of come in.
Awesome. What was your experience with the first Indian wedding?
First Indian?
Yeah.
Man, you know what? It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because so you guys are, the Slavic and Indian community is a lot alike, right? You guys love your own food. You guys, like to party a little bit, right? But with them, they drink whiskey like water, hands down. Whiskey like water, they down it, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, they want like no ice, is straight up.
No ice?
Yeah, maybe a little small ice cube, right?
Yeah,
and so
it's a little floater.
Yeah, a little floater, and they love to dance, right? And they always want to go a little bit longer, right? Another song, they always stop the DJ. I mean, for the most part, they're all great, to be honest, right? It's different, great. But everybody's always respectful, and we're respectful of them. And but yeah, it's always a good time, and they eat the whole reception, right?
They're just eating the whole time.
They're eating the whole time, eating, drinking, dancing the entire time, right? Like as opposed to like a Slavic, the caterers here a couple hours, then they're out. We shut down the buffet room, right? And songs and a couple games. But now with the Indian community, they're eating from the beginning till close.
That's crazy. How do you do that, dude?
Yeah.
Are they like puking in the bathroom or something?
We always get that one cousin,
Yeah.
right? The one uncle, right? That comes from, Canada or something like that. That hasn't seen the family members in forever.
So he's trying not to remember the day.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, right? But for the most part, we always, in any wedding that has alcohol, we always expect one person.
Yeah.
Right. That's like the rule of thumb, right? If it's 100 people, 200 people, we always anticipate one person that's one too many drinks, right? Okay. Yeah.
Let's go to more of like from a customer basis, like maybe what you've seen, what you've experienced, what you would like to tell couples that are coming to check out the venue.
Yeah.
Because I know some couples might show up and they're feeling intimidated. They don't know what to ask. They don't know what to expect out of a venue. They don't know how to ask, okay, what does the venue take care of? What does the venue offer?
Right.
Like, what if there's a couple couples watching this, like just a rundown. What does the Chalet Events offer? What you guys offer? What you guys do for the couple?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So what I always tell couples is, for us, we could be as hands-on as you guys want us to, or we could be as hands-off as you want us to, right? So, for example, like we could provide like an all-around full service kind of package, right? Or we could take care of, we could give you a DJ. We could do the decor. We could do the food, right? We could do the wedding planning, coordinating, right? But some couples, especially like in the Slavic community, they're like, hey, we just want the tables, chairs, space, and, throw in some service staff members to help clean up. Right. And other couples, they said, we want everything one-stop shop. And like, okay, this is what we can offer you. Right. So for us, we kind of tailored our packages to be kind of custom to the couple, right? Okay. Kind of wedding by wedding, event by event basis.
So literally a couple can come in and ask for anything. You guys are willing to help out with whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right. Some venues out there, they just said like, here are the keys, good luck. There are the tables, there are the chairs, you set it up, right? Figure it out. Another venue might say, you have to go through everything through us. Yeah. And if you don't, we charge you per person $25, $20, right? And if you have 150 people, that adds up fast, right? Okay. That's on top of whatever it is that you're already doing. And so, when we kind of built a place here, and we're formulating, okay, how do we want our venue to be, right? And so, and we thought of it as a customer, from the customer's perspective, right? What would I want if I was a customer, right? And then what type of customer am I, right? Because obviously we have a lot of different cultures that come through here, and each one has its own kind of unique needs, right? And so for us, we say, okay, at bare minimum, we will give you the venue, tables, chairs, space, and the manpower. So if you're having alcohol, bartender, security, wait staff, right? So that way you guys don't have to clean, right? Or if you're not having alcohol, no bartender needed, no security needed, but we'll have the manpower, right? And so you could bring in outside decorators, because everybody knows a decorator or a decorator that they trust, or a DJ, right? Everybody knows a brothers, cousins, mailman, sisters.
Yeah, somebody could turn on the mic.
Yeah, somebody could turn on the mic, right? And so we kind of tailor it to each individual's couple's needs.
Okay.
Yeah, which is nice.
What is a way that couples show up and they just make your job super difficult? Like,
okay.
Give me some examples of customers that come and make your job difficult, and where maybe in the future when they're showing up, like they could just be aware of these types of things.
So I don't really have kind of like difficult people walking in. I just have people who don't know what they want.
Okay.
Right. And that's the more challenging part, right? They come in and they're like, yeah, we want to get married. Okay, cool. Well, what day do you want to get married?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, right? Let's start off with the day.
Yeah.
We don't have a day yet. Okay, well, do you have a month, the time? And like, no.
I could book 4 days for you guys.
Yeah, and so my recommendations for couples is, one, the first thing you want is a date or a general idea, right? Okay, we want to get married on a Friday. We want to get married this month. We want to get married on a Saturday, right? To something to work with, right? Because each day is different pricing, right? Saturday is the most expensive, most popular, right? Next is Friday, Sundays, then Monday through Thursdays. So kind of come in, starting off with, okay, what day, how many guests, right? And then we could figure everything else out, right? Everything else kind of comes in after you lock in the venue. And some clients, they don't know if they want to do it all outside. They don't know if they want to do it inside, or, they want to go destination, right? So, or like every venue is a different theme, right? Some are more old school, some are more modern, some are more rustic, some are more kind of elegant. And so I always tell clients, every venue is just different, right? Not that one's better or worse, they're just different, right? And that's what one of my good friends now, Patrick from Blue Goose Event Center.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Loomis.
Yeah, and Loomis, exactly. Yeah. When I first met him, I considered him, I was like, oh, you're the competition. And, I quickly learned this, community over competition. So we all be, we're friends. And so, like, say, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, do you know what? My date's booked, or the date that they want's booked. I was like, hey, Patrick, do you have a date open? Right. And vice versa. Right. So we always kind of try to help each other out. If I can't accommodate, hey, I might know somebody who can. Right. Or you know what? My venue's too small. You want 500 people. I know a venue in Elk Grove that could accommodate 600 people. Right. Different pricing, different venue, different style. And so we always kind of use that approach, is how can we help each other in the community? All right. And same for hosts, right?
Exactly.
I ask people all the time, like, hey, do you have a host already? And say like, oh yeah, I have my friends, as part of the church, or, I'm considering these two guys. And like, okay, well, if you need one, I know some great ones, right? I always mention you, like, yeah, Ruslan's been here, 1,000 times. She's great. Yeah. Right. But then what I quickly realized is different hosts for different kind of audiences. Yeah. Right. Some hosts are more lively. Some audiences, some families, they're more conservative. They don't want loud people, right? Yeah. Some people, they want that loud people, they're entertaining, right? Yep. And so that's one of the things that I recently learned, right? Like a couple of weeks ago, like talking to Arthur.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Arthur Cobra.
Yeah.
Let's give that boy a shout out. The Cobra brother.
Yes, yeah.
Sir. Yep. Yeah. On Instagram.
And so, yeah, so like I said, we're still learning, still kind of sharing in the community, right? Kind of trying to give other people business, because that's what entrepreneurship is all about, building those relationships.
Yeah, and with everybody. At the end of the day, there's always enough customers that will fill everyone's calendars. You know?
Yeah, it's never a zero-sum game.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's about, in the Christian community, we call it the kingdom mentality. So it's like we're just building, like you're saying, business entrepreneur, like one another, helping everyone build and grow together. Yeah, because it just helps out everyone. Everyone's happy.
Right.
what I wanted to say is like, just from talking to couples before their weddings, after their weddings, what they love about working with you is like how flexible you are.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's hot outside. We want to do it inside. All right, I'll set up the chairs inside. And honestly, like, hands down, everyone that's worked with you, they're like, dude, this guy's always trying to help out. I know you got 2 big fireplaces in the back, you know, and it's some like your fall, winter weddings, trying to set the mood, get the fires going.
Yeah.
You got your own firewood. What's that, Luis, that lights them up usually? What's the guy's name?
Oh,
with the big hair.
Son of a gun.
Don't watch this. He's going to be mad. Carlos?
No.
Dang it.
That's Roberto.
Oh, Roberto.
Yeah,
yes.
Manuela and Roberto. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they're always around here, running around, helping out. So,
right. Roberto.
Honestly, nothing but good reviews. And summer was getting hot. You got the AC pumping.
Yeah.
Brought in like a bunch of fans in here, keeping it cool. So, awesome stuff. And it's actually, it's been interesting to watch because you started here in 2019.
Right. And
I think from the outside looking in, I don't know what you would say about this, but every year seems like you're getting busier.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and that was always part of the vision, right? You know, kind of bringing people in, giving them basically the venue for free and getting our word out there. But, you know, one of the reasons why we're getting busier and busier is because, you know, I pride myself on kind of like the customer service aspect, right? We could have the most beautiful venue in the world, but if your customer service isn't there, right, management's not there, then, you know, it's all for nothing, right? And so my uncle says, you know, you do good work, the money and the work would follow.
Okay.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. So, and you let your work and your customer service kind of speak for itself, your product speak for itself. Right. And then the biggest thing is kind of word of mouth referrals, right? That's the number one kind of source of free advertisement is, you know, referrals. Because if you say, hey, do you know anybody that can host a good, you know, venue or can fix a car or a good pizza place or whatever the case may be, somebody's like, oh yeah, some bomb tacos, like, oh yeah, you know, I know that one place, right? And you're gonna go there because you trust the person that you asked,
exactly,
right? You know, and then you find like the online reviews, right? That's another thing too that people kind of look at. So if, you know, whoever you ask says something good, and then you check them out online, something good's online, case closed, right? It's done.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
COVID-19. You started in 2019. COVID came in 2020.
Oh,
dude, let's
remind me, please.
Let's remind you.
Yeah.
Tell them what's the story like? How and like I can imagine just your gut freaking twisting.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah. I mean, I remember like it was yesterday. So we're kind of going ahead, right? Like in like February, March, and we're still kind of, you know, booking. And I remember like it was yesterday. We had this food tasting on a Tuesday, Wednesday for a party that was going to be, you know, that Saturday. Jimmy is his name, right? It was going to be his wife's birthday party. I was going to be in this room, you know, 50, 60 people, nothing huge. And so we do the food tasting. We're like, okay, cool. We'll see you in a couple of days, right? And then he calls me up the day after, I think, and he goes, "Hey, Bosue, this is Jimmy." I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, Jimmy? You ready for the party?" He goes, "I have to call you. I have to tell you that we have to cancel." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Because the first COVID case died here in Sutter." And he was like, "Yeah, nobody in my family is gonna show up. You know, we have to cancel." I'm like, "I apologize." I'm like, "Oh, Jimmy, more people die on the freeway right now than COVID, right?" You know, at the time, you know, nobody knew what was going on. And he was like, I'm sorry. You know, like, okay, what if, you know, we postpone? We could do this, we could do that. Right. He was like, if we still have the event, it's just gonna be me and my wife. Like, what are we gonna do? Just look at each other all night? I'm like, oh man. So that's when I had to make all the phone calls to cancel all the vendors, right? Because they were one of the clients who did like all inclusive, more hands-on.
Okay, where you guys did everything. Okay.
Yeah, and so we had to, you know, I had to call everybody like, hey, you know, I have to cancel on you, and they were like, man, you're the first one to do it, and like, okay, sure enough, the next day, a bunch of phone calls were coming in saying, hey, we have to cancel, we have to postpone, we want our money back. And in the beginning, you know, we put all of our money, we reinvested into the place, and so our bank account was like low. Yeah. And so I had to tell people, I'm like, hey, I wish I could give you the money back, but I can't.
I don't have it. Literally,
I don't have it. Right, I just paid the rent. Like the money's gone, and so luckily, you know, a lot of people they postponed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the landlords here, they weren't charging us rent, you know, for a good amount of time, awesome. Because everybody was in it together. Yeah, right. That was the motto, right? That was a phrase, you know, in it together, because it affected everybody, right? Now, it wasn't just our fault. It wasn't their fault. It was just, you know,
it was just a big mess.
It was just a big mess. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so, luckily, you know, 90% of my clients, they postponed, or they, you know, they said, you know what, you know, just keep it. Don't worry about it. Like, okay, cool.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
it's awesome that like, that the people were just so understanding. Yeah,
you know, and you know, like I said, one of the biggest things is what, like, they knew they were dealing with a family business. Yeah,
right. See, and that's the other thing. Like, some people might come in and be like, "Dude, what do you mean? You got this whole facility, blah blah blah. You can't afford to pay me back my $2,000 or whatever you paid me." And then you probably had to explain yourself to them, like, "Yo, check this out. I stole my mom's purse to get this place."
Yeah, no, I mean, because it's like one of the, like a lot of clients, they book with us because they know, and I tell them our story. Yeah, right. I tell them my dad's story. You know, how my dad, he came as, you know, a 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid, you know, through a tunnel from Mexico on 4th of July.
Really?
You know, so yeah, so literally, and the way they figured was, okay, it's 4th of July. All the Border Patrol agents are going to be looking up at the fireworks.
Not down.
They're not going to be looking at the tunnel, bro. Right? Yeah. You know, and so I tell them, I was like, we're literally the American dream, right? My dad had, and all the siblings came under a tunnel, literally with a shirt on their back, shoes on their feet.
That's awesome.
Right. And then to here, right? Yeah. And so when I tell that to the clients, they're like, you know what? I support you. I love your family. I love everything you guys are doing. I love your history. You know, sign me up, right? Yeah. Because, you know, a lot of people, they want to support family businesses, right? They don't want to kind of support, like, it's sometimes like another venue or another place is more corporate, where you're just
dealing with a bunch of random
with a sales rep, right? Here's our price, take it or leave it, right? Yeah. With us, we always try to build that relationship with our clientele. But yeah, so you know, with the COVID situation, it was crazy, because we put literally our last dime into this place, and then COVID hit. Oh my God, it was so scary, right? I was freaking out. I had so many white hairs after that, right? But luckily, like, I was doing all of the necessary steps to apply for the grants, right? To apply for the loans, right? To all the programs that the government was offering. I was on it. Sign me up, baby. Let's go. I was calling all my friends, right? Because I had a lot of friends, like, they were going through it as well with their businesses. I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing? What are you seeing? What's going on? What should I be doing? Yeah. Right. And luckily, you know, we have a lot of resources and a lot of friends who are knowledgeable about everything. And we made it through.
Let's give Placer County some kudos. Like, what was the benefit of, like, just the fact that your venue is in Placer County?
Yeah, so luckily, you know, Placer County, they weren't like enforcing any restrictions at all, right? Sacramento County, venues were shut down, right? And so venues are shut down. What are the couples gonna do, right? They still want a party. So with us, we're running into, okay, well, one, you know, we don't want to be reckless. Yeah. You know, at the same time, right? Even though Placer County, they're not enforcing anything, we still don't want to have kind of super spreader events. So let's kind of limit our guest count by ourselves, right? Because, you know, we still don't want to have 200 people here.
Enforce certain rules and stuff.
Right. So we're like, okay, so, you know, so we said, okay, let's limit the guest count. Placer County's not enforcing. Let's not be reckless neither. So we still required our service staff, our staff, to wear masks, right? Wear gloves, do all the necessary steps to kind of protect ourselves as well from, you know, hundreds, you know, 50 people, 80 people, 100 people from coming in. Yeah. Right. Because all it takes is one person. Right. Right. Then all of a sudden everybody has it. And so one of the kind of like the thought process in the beginning was, okay, let's do something outside, right? Because everybody's like, okay, you can't do nothing indoors, let's do everything outdoors. But then, you know, because of this particular property, the ordinance was you can't have any organized activity outside. So that forced us to kind of stay inside, right? It's like, okay,
let's open the doors.
just open the doors, right? Exactly. Yeah. So, but luckily, we're in the Placer County. They weren't enforcing anything, so we were still able to kind of operate
At a minimum.
Right? Still generate some revenue as opposed to like nothing at all, right? Which was nice because, like I said, we're a family business. We put everything in, and bills still had to be paid, whether it's, right now or 3 months down the line. If it's 3 months down the line, your mortgage bill is going to be 3 times what it was.
Yeah.
Right. So, but, like I said, we applied for everything. We call our credit card companies. We call our mortgage people. We call our, car payments. Literally everybody we owed money to. We're like, hey, we got shut down. What do you got? What can you do?
Yeah, how can you help?
Right. Yeah, our storage units, everything, and so
that's crazy.
Yeah, and then another thing too, when COVID hit, it gave us a chance to kind of trim the fat, kind of so to speak. Like, okay, let's look at our inefficiencies and kind of reevaluate our kind of model. Let's get lean. Yeah, let's get lean, right? And so that kind of gave us the opportunity to kind of look at our business model and where can we trim the fat of where are we wasting? Because before, so much money was coming in, we could afford to be inefficient. Yeah. Right? But now, okay. We really got to look at this let's look, right? Yeah. And so, that was another kind of like lesson learned through kind of COVID. Right. And also it was kind of like a silver lining for us because, since we're in Placer County, a lot of the couples came to us saying, hey, our venue down the way got shut down. They're not doing anything. Okay, we'll take you in. But these are the rules. Yeah. And whatever rules that we set, people were like, okay, as long as we can have it. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Like, what's the max number of people? You tell me, we'll make it happen. Yeah. Right. We just want to have our wedding because, for us, for weddings, and like, as it's like it's the first step of your next chapter in life, right? Not so much for the couples, but for the family members.
Yeah, they want to start it off right.
Right?
And sorry.
Yeah, no good.
And just like knowing like Spanish, Mexican culture, Slavic culture is like family, a good wedding. You got to get married. You don't move in together.
Right.
You get married. you got to have a good family wedding. Exactly. Everybody's invited, all the cousins, everybody. Right. Yeah. And that's how you make it happen. And there was a bunch of families that were willing to risk it all because I'm not going to get married for another year or whatever. Right.
Yeah, that's too long. We want to start our lives. We want to move in together, right? Yeah. Or I'm pregnant, so I better get married.
Yo, Bosue, don't tell my mom.
And so for us, like we ran into kind of a couple different family types, right? It's either one, people don't believe COVID was real. It was a hoax, right? It's all conspiracy.
The anti-vaxxers,
right? Crazy. Yeah, and then we get other people. They're like, yeah, we still want to party. Yeah, we know COVID's real, right? There's no vaccination at the time. There was no vaccinations, so we want to socially distance. Still, we want to wear masks, right? We want you to enforce it, and so those are the two different kind of families that we had kind of during that time. Okay. Whereas people didn't believe in it, government conspiracy, or let's still party and still wear masks and things like that. So
the cool thing is after every wedding, it was cool that you guys just cleaned this place down, scrubbed it.
Oh yes,
and just preparing it for the next party.
Right. So. Yeah. I mean, how many bottles of Lysol we went through, right? Like it was crazy. That's awesome. So especially with a place this big, you go through a lot of supplies.
Everyone's touching everything.
Yeah. And so before, during, after, because nobody knew, right?
Yeah. Nobody knew. So let's hear some wisdom from you. Little 7-year-old Bosue.
Yeah.
I'm saying it wrong, huh?
Say it again.
Bosue.
Yeah.
Bosue.
There it is.
Bosue.
Bosue.
Dude, I've been saying your name wrong this whole time.
Yeah, probably.
Bosue. 7-year-old Bosue, 10-year-old Bosue is watching this and he's like, dude, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
Like, what are the choices he needs to be making in life? What are some of the things you went through in life to turn out here instead of behind bars or instead of just, messing around?
No, I mean, I talk to my wife about this, like all the time because if you think about when I reflect on kind of like my childhood, our family history, right? It was geared towards, being a drug addict, being on the streets, being behind bars type of a deal, right? Because statistically, I shouldn't be kind of where I'm at, right? And that's one, alive, two, family, good job, not an alcoholic, not a drug addict, right? Stuff like that. And I would say the big, because like our family moved so many times, right? In a span of 20 years, I probably moved 20 times.
Wow.
Sometimes it was across the street, sometimes it was down the street, sometimes it was across town, right? For a variety of different reasons, right? But one of the consistent things that we had was, one, we always had a loving mom, right? We've had a roof over our head, we had food on the table, and stayed in the same school, right? All the time. And then I was also involved in sports, right? So there was those kind of consistencies that kind of kept us like off the street, where we could have been like some of my friends growing up, right? Either kind of like overdosed or like not really doing much with their lives, right?
Yeah.
And so, what was the question?
So, like a young Bosue is watching. Is Bosue? Is Bosue?
Bosue, yeah, just Bosue.
Bosue? Okay. A young Bosue is watching, like, just shared. Now I'm like farting around, dude.
I forgot the question, to be honest. like young Bosue share advice to him, with wisdom to him. Yeah. Yeah.
Growing up on the streets.
Like,
how many clips do you need on a Monday, bro?
Right. Let's see.
For the name, remember it is boss, like a boss.
I get that,
but it's
too.
not boss. Cause I've been saying it Bosue.
No, but it's like boss way.
Bosue.
There it is.
Bosue.
There it is.
El Bosue.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you say small?
Small.
Poquito?
Chiquito.
Chiquito Bosue is listening to this. Share some wisdom growing up. Like you mentioned, your dad coming here in the tunnels, and moving a bunch of times. You were supposed to be statistically locked up or dead or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Well, just going through life. There's a bunch of kids growing up without their dads.
Yeah.
Bunch of kids growing up without their moms, or maybe a bunch of orphans growing up in the orphan system. Somehow you made it.
Yeah.
Like, what was the track? Why did you choose the choices you chose? Because you could have chosen some stupider things.
Oh, yeah.
And not be here.
Oh, for sure. I mean, for me specifically, it was, and I would tell my younger self, one, kind of I would say, I mean, it's tough, because, if I were to do something different, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's always one of those kind of catch-22s.
Because even if you did screw up, you probably learned from that or something.
Yeah. And like every screw up I did was learning experience. Right. I was just fortunate enough not to get caught on the big screw ups.
Yeah.
But
so advice number one, don't get caught.
Don't get caught, baby. Don't get caught. And if you do something bad, don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's how you get caught. But people like ask that, like, is if you would do something differently, would you?
Yeah.
And in reality, if you're happy with your life right now, you wouldn't do anything different, right? Because if you do something different, it would lead you to a different path, and who knows what that path might have been.
Okay.
Right.
Fair.
No, yeah. And
yeah.
So,
but what do you know now that maybe you wish you would have known at a younger age?
Lottery numbers. Who won the Super Bowl?
place your bets.
Yeah,
place your bets correctly.
Right? Yeah, place to win. No, I mean, the biggest thing is it's always coming. There's so many things. I mean, I would say one is kind of learn to appreciate the time that you have with people, right? Because that's something that you'll never get back, right? You could always learn a lesson, right? But learn to love somebody and respect the time that you have with them, right? Because, in the beginning of 2020, and I blame this whole 2020 year on my uncle because he committed suicide New Year's Eve into New Year's, right?
Into 2020?
Into 2020. And so I always say, if he threw the world off balance, right? I blame it him. And,
I'm sorry, dude.
and so when people, people pass away, it's always a reminder for me how precious time is, right? And the sooner you realize that, the happier you'll be with the people in your life, right? Or, you know, you could say, you know what, I don't want to be with these type of people, so I'm gonna back away because my time's precious, right? And, you know, when you get a little bit older, you could pick and choose who's in and out your life. But at a younger age, you know, with your family, you know, you just have to deal with the cards that you're dealt. But you know, once you get older, and when you realize that, even like in school, you say, you know what, I don't like this person, I'm gonna hang out with this person because he's a more positive kind of influence, right?
I like what you just said, is like, learn to value time.
Yeah.
Like, learn to value time. And I'm just thinking about myself, like being in middle school. How do you teach a young kid in middle school, like, yo, time is valuable, like, use it wisely? You're like, what are you talking about? I'm 16. I'm trying to be 21 as fast as I can.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, and it's one of those things where, you know, you have to kind of start it like at a young age. Like, I mean, obviously I'm not a parent or anything like that, right? So I would say, you know, that's just something that is part of kind of growing up or teaching somebody. And then eventually they'll realize it. They'll click, right? Maybe it might be an event that happens. Like, oh, do you know what? You know, my dad was right. Because,
dude, I've had so many of those. Like, dude, it's crazy.
You know, and, you know, teenagers, you know, we were there. We thought we knew everything, right? Our parents are, you know, whatever year olds, right?
Yeah. What do you know?
Yeah, what do you know?
This is the 2000s, not the 80s.
Exactly, right? And so, I mean, so one of my cousins, right? He didn't like value time. He didn't want to go to his high school graduation or high school prom. And I'm like, dude, you only get that time. You could only go to high school graduation or high school prom, dance, senior ball once in your life, right? After you graduate, that time's gone, right? And you only have
He's like, not if you get held back.
Not if you get held back, exactly, right? But like, so there's only specific times in your life where you can do specific things.
Yeah.
Right? Like in sports, you can only play high school football for 4 years. After that, unless you go on to college, chances are you're not. Right? So, you know, you got to value that time you put on the helmet, or value that time. I played lacrosse in high school, right? Which is
nice.
Cool. Yeah. After high school and after a year in college, I never played again. Right? It's kind of one.
Dude,
of those
you just
things.
reminded me, and I talk to couples. Some couples want to do a slideshow at a wedding. Some couples don't want to do a slideshow. And some couples are like, dude, slideshows are only for funerals. Like, why are we doing a slideshow?
Yeah.
And I like to say, I'm like, look, I'm not trying to make you, but like, this is probably the only time in your life where both of your sides of the family are ever gonna look at your baby pictures all together and react to it.
Yeah.
It's, for me, it's a very special moment.
Yeah.
You know, just like, it's cool watching families from the sidelines, just from the side, watching other families look at their slideshows at weddings and everybody react like, oh, damn, she was an ugly baby. or you know what I mean? Like, it's just an interesting.
Just have some type of reaction.
Yeah.
Good.
It kind of brings everybody together.
Yeah.
Now I know, like, you as when you were a kid, and it brings everybody closer. So value your time, value your parents. And it sounds like, dude, you had a beautiful role model, your mom.
Yeah.
In your life, and or still have, actually.
Yeah. No, she's still.
And so brought you here, dude.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You know, like I said, you know, so in our family, you know, we're just like a matriarchal family, right? So like my mom, we call her the Oracle. Right? You go to her for whatever it is, and she has the answer for whatever reason, right? Because she's been through it all, you know. And then my dad, he's back there. He's like, okay, just make sure everything's okay, good, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so, but she's kind of like the storyteller, like in the family, right? And so, and her growing up, she's been through a lot of stuff, right? So she shouldn't even be here statistically, right? And so, you know, our family kind of beat the odds, right? And so kind of going back to like my family's history, you know, specifically my dad's side, you know, her and the siblings came, you know, and now they're business owners, teachers, so what else? Nonprofit leaders, community leaders, right? And so all of us, you know, we reflect on them saying, okay, if they came with nothing, what's our excuse?
Exactly.
Right. And so that was something that was kind of instilled on us kind of growing up as kids. And so now our cousins and I, you know, I went to college, Harvard, Brown. My uncle, you know, went to Princeton.
Wow.
Right. And so all these big stuff now they're, you know, they run, some work in tech, some are high school counselors. My other cousin, she's a high school vice principal at age 29. She just turned.
Wow, dude.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
how crazy is that, right?
Yeah, that is.
You know, my brother went to San Diego State. He's an engineer, right? And sisters, you know, they're starting like their own business, right? They're doing their thing. And so that's part of kind of like, you know, putting family, kind of family first, education, right? And having that work ethic and that dedication, you know, growing up, right? Even though, yes, a bunch of bad things have happened to us, that's not who we are.
Yeah, but
Right.
because of the relationships you had with one another,
Yeah.
you were able to overcome and become better at this. I heard somebody say like, relationships is the new currency.
Oh yeah.
You
for
know,
sure.
and it's like if you have relationships with people and if you're still confused about what I'm saying, you're probably maybe a young teenager or something. But when you
Yeah.
grow up a little bit, you realize that like relationships with people are gonna carry you like
Oh, yeah.
across the world.
Yeah. For sure.
It's one of the best things you can have. Don't be a smart ass. Don't disrespect people because you do
Yeah.
not know where that relationship is gonna take you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just that's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah.
You know, be respectful to everyone. So
Yeah. And, you know, kind of on that note is,
Mm-hmm.
you never know who's watching and who's related to who. Right.
yeah.
So, and I'll tell you an example, right? We did a wedding here. It was great. It was phenomenal. I go offsite to drop off a throne chair, and I run into this guy. He goes, "Hey, I know you from somewhere." I go, "Oh, where?" He's like, "Oh, you did my cousin's wedding." Right? It was phenomenal. He did a great job. Right? And so, you know, relationships transcends, you know, generations, transcends, you know, time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it could affect somebody from across the world because you never know who's related to and when you're going to run into somebody that, you know, you've encountered before.
Dude, the world is a small place.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the older I get, I'm realizing it's like everywhere you go, it's like, oh, dude, it's actually a very small community. Like,
Oh yeah. for sure.
you learn about everybody. You only don't know people when you're in high school, and you think that whoever's in high school is the world around
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And that's it. Once you get out of there, everything changes a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bosue.
You got it.
Hallelujah. Amen. Brother, thank you for making time. Thank you for letting us do this here. I was always intrigued by the fact that I remember the first time I came here, I was like, dude, who the heck is this Bosue guy?
Yeah.
Just running the show. Like, how did he even land this place, you know?
Yeah.
And so, honestly, I looked up to you like, man, look at this guy. He's killing it. He's grinding. Yeah, he's here freaking 6 a.m. probably until everybody leaves, setting up chairs, cleaning them up. But it's an inspiration to many people. And I'm sure it's an inspiration to your younger siblings, you know, watching their older brother. I'm sure it's in like your mama's proud of you. Like, that's my boy right there.
Yeah.
So thank you for making this happen. And if you're listening to this, you're in the Sacramento, Rockland, Loomis, Roseville area, Chalet Event Center. As long as this video is going to be on YouTube, that's how long they're going to be booking. So now they're booking 2022.
2023, I think.
2023 already?
Yeah.
There you
People
go.
don't mess around.
So yeah, birthday parties, weddings, any type of parties, quinceañeras.
Quinceañeras. So yeah, so we do weddings, birthday parties, quinceañeras, sweet 16s, corporate events, right? So all my corporate people out there. We do a lot of celebrations of lives, memorials, right? So those are one of those I hate doing, right? 'Cause, like, I wish it was a better event, right?
Yeah,
but so yeah, babe, we do it all, you know. So,
Okay.
If anybody who's looking for dates, let us know.
Where can they contact you?
The link is right here.
Ooh, dang, look at this blogger right here, dog. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna put the link. Do you guys have a website?
Yeah, the chaleteventcenter.com, or just check out our Instagram.
Okay.
Right, websites thing was past.
Okay.
Instagram.
Reach out on Instagram. We'll make sure to put that in the description. Again, thank you guys. Peace.